Imagine a room, 20 strangers, split into two groups by nothing more than a coin flip. Group A, Group B, no history, no rivalry, no reason to care. Now imagine that within 20 minutes, people in Group A start giving less trust, less basic decency to Group B, not because of anything Group B did, just because of the letter on their name tag. That actually happened, and it happened faster than anyone expected. You like to think loyalty and betrayal are earned. That you need a real reason to turn on someone. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain doesn't need a reason. It just needs a label in about 20 minutes. Start with the experiment that proved it. In the early 1970s, social psychologist Henri Tajfel wanted to find the smallest possible spark that could ignite group loyalty and betrayal. He brought in ordinary teenage boys who didn't know each other well, showed them a screen full of dots, and asked them to guess how many were on it. Then he told them, essentially at random, that they'd been sorted into two groups based on their guesses. The sorting meant nothing. The boys knew it was arbitrary. And yet, when given the chance to divide money between an anonymous member of their own group and the other group, they consistently gave more to their own. Some even chose options that gave their own group less overall, as long as the other group got even less. Tajfel called this the minimal group paradigm. It takes almost nothing to make you care more about us than them. Why would your brain do this? Because for most of human history, us and them was the single most important distinction you could make. A stranger wasn't just unfamiliar. A stranger was a walking question mark. Would they share their food or take yours? Groups who could quickly sort people into safe and unsafe categories outcompeted groups who couldn't. Trusting the wrong stranger could get you killed. Distrusting the right one just cost you a friendship. Evolution rewards caution, even when caution is wrong. So your brain built a shortcut, not a slow evaluation of each person's character. A fast, crude filter. Same group, different group. And the filter doesn't need real information to activate. It just needs a signal. A jersey color, a dialect, an arbitrary letter assigned by a psychologist with a clipboard. You can see this shortcut at work in one of the most famous field experiments in social psychology. In 1954, researcher Muzaffar Sherif ran what's now called the Robber's Cave experiment. He took two groups of 11-year-old boys, strangers to each other, to a summer camp, and kept them apart for the first week. Each group bonded, built its own identity, gave itself a name. Then Sherif introduced the groups through a series of competitions. Within days, name-calling turned into flag burning. Flag burning turned into raids on the other group's cabins. Boys who a week earlier had never met were now hoarding rocks as ammunition. Sherif hadn't given either group a real reason to hate the other. He'd simply given them a team, a rival, and a scoreboard. That was enough. Here's the twist. The same instinct that turns strangers into rivals can just as easily turn strangers into allies. In a later phase, Sherif forced the two groups to work together on shared problems, like fixing a broken water supply both groups needed. The hostility didn't fade slowly. It collapsed almost as fast as it had formed. Cooperation on a shared goal rewired the boys' sense of who counted as us within days. Your instinct to sort people isn't fixed, it's responsive. It isn't asking, are you dangerous? It's asking a simpler question, over and over. Are you on my team right now? Economists Joyce Berg, John Dickhout, and Kevin McCabe designed something called the trust game in the 1990s. Two strangers, no names, no faces. One player sends money to the other, knowing it will grow, but also knowing the second player has no obligation to send any back. It's a clean test of whether a stranger will betray your generosity the moment it's profitable. What researchers found is that the answer depends heavily on framing. Tell players they're on the same team, even in name only, and reciprocity goes up. Frame the other player as an outsider, and betrayal becomes far more common. The dollar amount never changes. Only the label does. There's a biological layer underneath this too. Researcher Paul Zak, studying the hormone oxytocin, found it doesn't simply make people warmer and more trusting in general. It specifically increases trust toward people already perceived as in-group, while doing little or nothing for outsiders. Oxytocin is nicknamed the love hormone, but Zak's research suggests loyalty hormone fits better. It reinforces the wall between us and them your brain has already built. The warm feeling of belonging and the cold suspicion of outsiders are two sides of the same chemical process, firing together. Later researchers pushed this further. They tested what happens when people are told their arbitrary group was assigned completely randomly, a coin flip they watched with their own eyes. The favoritism still showed up, even while people were fully aware the grouping meant nothing. Knowing the label is meaningless doesn't stop your brain from treating it as if it matters. That's what should unsettle you. This bias runs beneath conscious belief, in the same place that flinches at a loud noise before you've decided whether it's dangerous. Think about how often your day is shaped by exactly this mechanism. A comment section splits into two sides before anyone finishes reading the argument. A rival jersey walks into a bar, and the room's temperature drops. A coworker from another department gets less benefit of the doubt than one from your own team, for no reason you could explain if pressed. Modern institutions have learned, deliberately or not, how to trigger this instinct at scale. A brand doesn't need you to hate a competitor. It just needs you to feel like a member of its tribe. A movement doesn't need to convince you of every policy detail. It just needs a color, a slogan, a jersey to stick. Once it does, the machinery Tajfel and Sheriff documented takes over automatically. Your ancestors' in-groups were small, maybe 50 people, mostly stable. You could meet everyone in your tribe. Today, your in-groups are enormous, invisible, constantly shifting. You can be sorted into a new us and a new them by an algorithm before your morning coffee, based on a single post, a single click. The instinct that once helped small bands survive is now triggered dozens of times a day by strangers you will never meet over stakes that rarely matter as much as they feel like they do. So what do you do with an instinct like this, one that's ancient, useful, and clearly capable of turning good people cold towards strangers who did nothing wrong? You can't switch it off. Sheriff's boys couldn't, and neither can you. But Sheriff also showed you the antidote, almost by accident. Shared goals dissolve the line between us and them faster than any lecture about tolerance ever could. The moment two groups need each other, the sorting shortcut recalculates. Strangers stop being threats and start being teammates, sometimes within days. So the next time you feel that instant, wordless suspicion towards someone simply because they're wearing the wrong colors, cheering for the wrong team, or standing on the other side of an argument, remember what's actually happening underneath. It isn't really about them. It's a 20-minute-old instinct, dressed up as certainty, still running the same test it ran 200,000 years ago. Are you one of us, or are you a stranger worth betraying?